Welcome back. So in our earlier video we described about what a square number is and how to identify whether a particular number is not a square number. If a number ends with 2, 3, 7 or 8 in its unit place, then they are surely not a square number. So a square number will always end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. But if there is a number that ends with these numbers, then we cannot say that all such numbers are square numbers. See, the converse is not true. Every square number has in its unit place one of the following digits: 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. So every square number will end with one of these digits. However, a number that ends with one of these digits need not have to be a square number. So you have to be very, very clear about this. See, there are absolutely no one way of finding out if a given number is a square number or not. Okay. We can only say under what criteria a number is not a square number. But there are absolutely no ways of saying, okay, this number is a square number because it satisfies certain criteria. We cannot say that. Okay. But we can define certain properties so that we can identify a square number faster. For example, square of any number that ends with 4 will end with 6. Okay. I am saying square of any number that ends with the digit 4 ends with 6. 4 square is 16. Okay. 14 square ends with 6. Similarly, the square of any number that ends with 6 also ends with 6. Square of 6 is 36. Okay. Square of 16 also ends with 6. Now we can say square of any number that ends with 2 ends with 4. So square of 12. 12 is a number that ends with 2. So 12 square is equal to 144. So the square number ends with 4. Now square of any number that ends with 8 also ends with 4. 8 square is 64. It ends with 4. 18 square ends with 4. Now square of any number that ends with 0, right, also ends with 0 only. 10 square equal to 100. What is 20 square? Equal to 400. It ends with 0. What is 30 square? It is 900. Ends with 0. Okay. The square of any number that ends with 5 ends with 5. 5 square equal to 25. 15 square equal to 225. 25 square equal to 625. So when you start writing the square numbers, you will start to understand certain interesting patterns. Okay. See, for instance, you take 5 square, it is 25. 15 square equal to 225. 25 square is equal to 625. So can we say the square of any number that ends with 5 has in its 10th place and unit place 2 and 5 respectively, or the last two digits of the square number is 25. Can we say that? Okay. So you find out 35 square, you find out 45 square, you find out 55 square, you find out 65 square, right? You check whether they all end with 25 or not. Okay. So we will talk about this particular question in my next video. But in the meantime, you work out what is 25 square, 35 square, 45 square, 55 square, 65 square, 75 square, 85 square, 95 square. You work it out. Okay. Similarly, you take all the digits ending with 0. 10 square equal to 100. So how many zeros are there? 2 zeros in the square number, isn't it? How many zeros are there in the original number, which is 10, 1 0. So when you had 1 0 in the square, you have 2 zeros. What is 20 square? It is equal to 400. So how many zeros are there in 20? 1. How many zeros are there in 400? 2. What is the square of 30? 30 square equal to 900. So you had 1 0 in 30, but in 900 you have 2 zeros. So for any digit, for any number ending with a certain number of zeros, the squares will always have twice the number of zeros. So if you have your original number ending with 3 zeros, how many zeros the square will have? 2 into 3, 6 zeros. If the number has, if a particular number has 4 zeros, the square of that number will have 8 zeros. So these are all certain patterns that you have to remember to verify if a given number is a square number or not. For example, 3000, if it is being asked you whether 3000 is a square number, straight away you can say it is not a square number, because a square number will have even number of zeros. Okay, a square number is nothing but it is square of another number. Okay. So always a square number will have even number of zeros. So if a number has odd number of zeros ending with odd number of zeros, it is not a square number. If a number, as we had seen earlier, ends with 2, 3, 7 or 8, the numbers are not squares. If a number ends with odd number of zeros, it is not a square. Okay. So we will further explore about squares in our next video. Thank you.